acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. First, I'll call for the approval of the agenda tonight. So moved by Councillor Elliott. Seconded by Councillor David Parker. I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Contrary minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have errors and omissions and corrections of minutes from October 17th. Package, councillors. It's been moved by Warden Parker. I guess we don't need more.
Oh, that's great.
Okay. Any errors, omissions, or corrections? Any errors, omissions, or corrections? For minutes of October 17th, hearing none, I'll consider those minutes approved. So tonight we have a presentation from the Pictou County Trails Association concerning the hurricane cleanup. Invite the Pictou County Trails Association to take the floor, and we welcome you here this evening.
This one you want? Oh.
I'll move the presentation forward further.
Would you mind introducing yourself to council too once you get set up there? So we. Here.
There. Oh, anybody here?
I do.
Anybody here?
Yeah.
I'll just talk like a rock star, okay? Welcome, I accept your welcome, I should say, on behalf of the Pictou County Trails, and we're delighted to be here. We've got some guests with us as well, some other members of the groups that belong to the Pictou County Trails. On my left is Sally O'Neill, and she is, you're probably familiar with her, I think she's employed with it. And so she'll do the slide presentation a little later. And right now, we have Janice Booker, Gordon Young, and Fran Wyman.
Thank you.
And I'm Floyd Cobb, who's some of us, you know, but hello. And it's good to be here. And the first thing I want to do is thank you for your continued financial support to the developing trails in Pictou County. This is something that you've done now for 7 years, nine, this is the 9th year. So thank you very much for the continued support. I represent the Jitney Trail. I'm going to do a little presentation on that. Jitney Trail, as you know, goes from Pictou County, Pictou to the county line, but this is about 38 kilometers. We've been making improvements on this trail for over 30 years. For the last 10.
Can folks hear?
No. Why don't you sit at the end? Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah, sit where it's at. Like.
No, it's over here.
I've got a green light here.
Okay.
Okay.
We can hear you now.
Okay, I'll start again. So can you start again? Okay, well, the last 10 years, we averaged about $120,000 per year budget for improve the Jitney Trail. Now, this trail was an abandoned redland, as you know, trees growing right up over the edges. So it took a lot of work to bring that to the standard that the Trans-Canada Trail people would accept as a approved Trans-Canada Trail. We were on the verge of getting there this year or next year, and look what happened. So we're not going to that rate now, but our funding for this year came from the OHV funds, motorized people, CCR, what we refer to as the walkers or the bikers monies, municipal, Trails for Life, that's 2 people, and Trans-Canada Trail, which is a national, and others, Sally may go into that later. So there's been a lot of donated materials and volunteer time gone into this project. And we were devastated, to be quite honest with you. We were shell-shocked 8 weeks ago when the hurricane hit. The winter management on this trail is done by the Dalhousie Mountain Songwheel Club. And they produce about 50 hours of grooming time at a cost of about $4,000 for the winter use of this trail. And that's for everybody. all winter. And now I'd like to get into the Fiona cleanup of this trail, but I think we'll just leave that for questions and talk later on, because the Jitney Trail has a sort of a special application where we were able to hire a forester contractor who happened to be working on the trail the day of the hurricane. So for him to continue working on the next woodlot, we said, we need you to clear a trail. So he agreed that he would clear the trail. So two large forest harvesters called Ponzi's have been working the trail for going on over 6 weeks now. And they're about 3/4 to 80% finished. This is a long process when you're dealing with over 1,000 trees per kilometer. Because of the way the trail runs east to west, the north wind devastated this trail. You couldn't get a rabbit to it. It was beyond imagination. So the harvesters are brought in, and they're doing a great job of cleaning it up. I'll just turn it over to the other groups now. Let them have a word.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the council tonight. I think it's probably been about 35 years since I last addressed the council for trails when we were first trying to convert the Jitney to a linear park. I'm the chair of the Cape to Cape Committee, which was formed as a spin-off from the Pictou County Trails Association to develop trails for non-motorized use and ultimately to create a long-distance hiking trail across northern Nova Scotia. Currently, we have permission from approximately 40 private landowners, and the individually connected trail extend for over 40 kilometers. Trails are open to everybody. Prior to COVID, the trails received extensive use by bikers, hikers, snowshoers, and cross-country skiers. With COVID, however, the use exploded. It was amazing to see trails that were paths in the woods and suddenly, just worn into the ground. With hundreds of users out for social, physical, and most importantly, mental health. We train hike leaders and organize and lead 12 hikes every year through Hike Nova Scotia. In addition, our trails are used extensively by groups such as Scotsman 55 Club, and the Y and the Move. As a long distance trail, we have one overnight lodge, Bothy, which is always open and free to all. We're in the process of building boardwalks and 2 more overnight shelters. We've also been planning a memorial picnic park on Fitzpatrick Mountain. All these projects have been and will be built with donated funds and labor. Fiona, however, has devastated our trail system. The projects above have been put on hold. We're mostly seniors, so we'll have to hire skilled sawyers to open some of our trails, but with support, we will survive. The Pictou County Trails Association is a model for other trail groups in the province. We've been able to work cooperatively with all users so that we can develop shared trails without conflict. This is something that's evolved over the last 35 years that I've been involved. But initially, I think when the last time I addressed council, people felt that, gee, who do we support, the non-motorized people or the motorized people? But we all sit down at the table together and we all recognized our shared and conflicting interests and are able to work together. In summary, the Cape to Cape has developed a series of linear parks in the municipality that are available and used by any and all at no charge and very minimal cost to the municipality. And this is our gift to you. Yeah.
Janice Rupert.
It's a pleasure to meet with you tonight. Speak on behalf of the County Trails with the mountain bike group. So I'm representing Mountain Bike Trail of Topeka County. We're a subcommittee of Topeka County Trails, and we formed in 2020. And the incentive for us to be part of Topeka County Trails was for liability insurance for Nova Scotia Trails, the ability to apply for federal, provincial, and municipal funding, bookkeeping services, and access to people that already have some experience with the trail expertise and get some guidance from that. And we were formed to bring in additional trails under the Topeka County Trails umbrella. So what our focus is to maintain and improve the trails of Fitzpatrick Mountain for forest season usage. So we have about 12 landowner agreements under our additional trails. Cape to Cape does have trails on Fitzpatrick Mountain, but we brought in additional trails that weren't covered under the scope of their mandate. So we work in partnership with the Cape to Cape Trail Committee. And we also cross over other trails that have motorized vehicles. So we do have an interaction with motorized groups as well. So essentially what we do are remove down trees, cut back vegetation, trim vegetation, blow leaves off the trails. We were up there today blowing the snow off the trails to get and the leaves that were underneath on the recent portion of the trail that we opened on the weekend. So if that's our safety concern, I guess, to get the leaves off the trail. Repair trails to manage drainage, place age infrastructure such as bridges and boardwalks, and work collaboratively with landowners and the county trails and collect garbage. So some of the volunteer hours in the last 3 years, you can see it was 111, 389, and 309 hours of the last 3 years that the mountain bike group has volunteered to maintain just the trails on Fitzpatrick Mountain. We essentially go from Millsville to the Scottsburn Trailhead Park and all of the interconnection with trails that are up there. That's what that's the scope. So in 2020, the project that we had was funded by the municipality through the Trails for Life grant. And it was $800 for materials, and we installed this 50-foot boardwalk near the Trailhead Park. In 96 hours, it seems like a lot, but it's a lot of work, I guess, so just to get the material in there. And this last year, the new bridge was installed. The old bridge was pretty well in the brook. We temporarily propped it up there in the picture. So it was Trails for Life money. We received funding through a grant through Nova Scotia Community Culture, Tourism and Heritage. And we received a Heartland tour of $2,500. So that covered the replacement of the bridge, which was great to have that much funding to do a big project like that. And for 2022, we were also going to replace more of the infrastructure, but that money has now been redirected for Fiona cleanup. These small boardwalks, it would be inconvenient if they're not there, but you could still use the trail. It just means it would probably be really wet in those spots. Fiona right now is more important to clean up the devastation from that. And these are a few pictures. You see the bridge is on the top left, where it broke the railing, but it didn't harm the bridge. And late in the fall, we were up there kind of shoring up the banks and moving rock around in the stream to redirect the stream, and there was no erosion to the bank of the stream where the bridge crosses over, so we were pretty happy about that. And the other pictures of the huge trees and the hemlocks and some of the old growth hardwood. I have for now.
Lloyd, do you want to come in? I can talk a bit, but I'd rather that you hear from the trail group, from the volunteers rather than me, but I can also answer questions as a member of staff too. 20 minute. We're kind of getting low in time, so let's just. And we thank you for your patience. Want me to? Okay. I will, with your permission, speak on your behalf and with you. So just a little bit of background on those who, and you heard a little bit from Gordon as well on the history of the trail, for those of you who weren't around for that time. So it began in the late 1980s when the rails were being lifted from the short line railway. This is the impetus of the trail organization. In 1988, members lobbied the local government and the Department of Natural Resources to support building a public use trail on the abandoned building. And most of the landowners in the area agreed to that project at the time. And the first Rails to Trails project in Nova Scotia was right here in Pictou County, and PCTA incorporated in June of 1989. So today, the Pictou County Trails Association manages over 300 kilometers of trail, and that's by all the various different groups. So the mountain bikers, the hikers, the different off-highway vehicle, so that's snowmobiles and ATVs. They have over 300 private landowner agreements to use private land to have for trails, which requires meeting and making agreements with community members to have access to their land. They have 3 dedicated trail committees that you heard from today, and many more participating trail and community organizations. They work with the Tallahassee Mountain Snowmobile Club, Pictou County ATV Club, and they just started working with the East River Valley Community Development Agency to manage some cleanup on the Trans-Canada Trail in East River Valley. They have funded over 60 projects through the Trails for Life program, which is paid for through your funding through your municipal capital grants, community development grants. And as Gordon said, they are a model of user group collaboration in Nova Scotia. So he's really proud to the Nova Scotia Trails Federation and other meetings to talk about how things are done here in Pictou County. So you've heard a little bit about who they are and what clubs are involved. They are also members in good standing of the Nova Scotia Trails Federation, like Nova Scotia, the ATV Association of Nova Scotia, and the Snowmobile Association of Nova Scotia. So they carry through their organizations and their memberships $5 million liability insurance policy. So that protects all the trail users and the landowners and the trail group as well. They have many collaborations with neighboring county trail groups and other community organizations. They share equipment, they collaborate on projects. There's a couple of, we mentioned a few projects that they are involved in annually. So Pictou County is quite a hub of trails use in the province. It is probably the most interconnected trail community in the province, and it has so in Scottsburn, so the Trans-Canada Trail corridor that goes through on the Short Line Railway links Nova Scotia with PEI and New Brunswick. The Advance Trail, so that's the ATV Association of Nova Scotia. So the ATV trails use that trail, that railway system as well, and it connects to all their trails. The Snowmobile Association of Nova Scotia Trail System is connected through the Jitney and Short Line as well. The Cape to Cape Trail also shares part of the Jitney Trail along the rail line as part of its system, getting from one hiking trail to another. That is also a section, so the Jitney Trail is also a section of the Nova Scotia Blue Route cycling system as an alternate to pilot cycling. And the International Appalachian Trail all meet in Scottsburn.
Which is the trails capital of Nova Scotia.
So unofficially, the group has been kind of talking about themselves as conversation and maybe that catches on. So this is just a few of the community partnerships. And there's a little map there that you can see where different landowners, hopefully, so you can see where the trail goes through and all the different agreements that have to be made with private landowners. And just a little bit of a visual, so to give you an example, an idea of the impact of your support. So over this doesn't include this past year's funding because it hasn't been dispersed yet. So, but it has been, they have met, there have been applications, and it has been decided that this year's funding will go towards Fiona cleanup. But this thus far, so this has gone from 2013 from your first support of the Trails for Life work. $140,000 was leveraged into $800,000 in trails projects funds that were spent in Pictou County. And that is, we figure that is a conservative number because there was countless volunteer hours and donations of equipment and materials and labor. So we just wanted to give you a visual of how the group is maximizing this investment. Hope this works, but I have a little video that you can see. Probably can't hear it, but it will just give you like a little bit of a visual of what they're dealing with when they've gone to examine their trails. And it's really actually hard to even see the trails, see where they go. Sort of friends saying all these huge trees. And so the little note there is from the Nova Scotia Trails Federation, and they estimate that at this stage in the cleanup, volunteer labor is in the range of $20 million worth of volunteer hours of labor at the provincial government rate of $20 an hour. And that's all over the province. We heard from the Mountain Bike, the newest group in the station. And this is just an example of some upcoming projects. The River John Bridge needs to be redecked, and so the group is working towards funding to try and repair that decking to make it safe and passable. If we want to, we're going to pass it over to Floyd.
Thanks, Sally. You can see the picture of the River John Bridge. That project is about 28 years old, and so the lumber is basically rotten. It was treated lumber, but the treated lumber at the time wasn't what you call the proper treated lumber, and so it had a shelf life. It has been rebuilt. You can see a lot of repairs on the top, but it's time. One of the projects we have next year is to redeck that whole bridge system. That's 301 feet long bridge, so it'll be a major cost. I think I'm going to stop right there and entertain questions because you guys are just being bamboozled by information. You don't need that. You guys know what the damages are. You need answers. So let's try to provide some answers or direction.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll open the floor up to councilors for questions. Go ahead, Board Member.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for coming in tonight. Yes, we all know what our woods look like. Anybody walks in their woods, it is overwhelming, and you're lucky to have contractors every day. These contractors are pretty scarce right now. Awful lot of foot people all looking for the same people. Try and do something with their wood before it's too late and have some time, but winter's coming here fast. So it's that same concerns, I'm sure. But I wanted to just mention about the wellness, the trails. I often refer to them as the rural people's wellness. Because not everybody can get to them. This isn't a shot at wellness center, but not everybody can get there. and not, you know, whether it's transportation or whatever, but in many cases, the trails are almost in people's backyards. Whether they want to cycle or whether they want to walk or they want to go on their ATV or whatever. I think it's great too to hear that the groups are working together. For a long while, you did hear about the competition between whether this group or that group could use a certain trail, and that's not what I'm hearing tonight. And it was mentioned about 1988 or 1989, when the only counselor that would have been here then, unfortunately couldn't be here tonight, is our deputy board member. He's been here a few years longer than that even, so he would have remembered when those first came here. But so I think we just, it's like everything else, that when you apply to the government funding at provincial level for everything for wood loss, they're gonna fly over first, or drones or whatever, and get a picture of just what the damage is. But I think before we go too far down the road, we know there's an awful lot of damage. We need to know, some kind of estimate of how much damage in dollars and cents. And I know a lot of that's gonna be done by volunteers and whatnot, but that's what the government's asking at the provincial level is, give us an estimate of your damage in one way or another. So that they have some way to handle that. But I think certainly I know that our council has always been a big supporter of trails, like I said, it's from the Center for Rural People. But we also have a lot of demand to the Sotheby's for money. And so we'll certainly be there to help, I know that, and just how much we can help becomes the question. I did see something up there in the written part there near the end about rather than treating us like separate projects or whatever, treated as part of community facilities, and I wasn't just sure what that meant, because when we look at council grants at the deadline at the end of February, that's the larger grants that this would have to go under for sure. I wasn't sure what was meant by, previous. There's a different word there, it's part of communities or whatever, rather than this individual project. I think it's the last page that went up here.
So, to answer a bit of your first question around estimating the value of the damage, that is something that the trail groups are trying to work at with the support of the Nova Scotia Trails Federation and the province. There was a helicopter that did a flyover and took some video. So that video is actually with the provincial organization now. We don't have it yet, but so they have at least seen the length of the Jitney Trail, for example, and Pictou County was one of the areas that was flown over. There were others as well. So they are trying to estimate, although it's still a little bit difficult. So we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, yes. Fine.
Okay, thank you, Gordon Parker. Councillor Chester Durham.
Thank you very much. I was wondering, who's your contractor? Your contractor? Pick that up.
Genex is an Eastern company, next generation. A company from, I believe, about Thorburn Way. He's the biggest contractor in the province, and he has the most up-to-date, sophisticated equipment, which is a blessing because we're dealing with every angle and multi-layers of trees. It's not cutting the tree standing up, which is what harvesters are made to do efficiently. This machine can reach in and angle itself and pull trees out, process them. So we were very fortunate that Mark had agreed to put another processor with the first one. It's going along quite well.
So that's Mark Banner.
Yes, Mark.
So is there any income
Yes,
coming from this as well?
yes, there's some recovery of, well, a lot of it is poplar, so it doesn't have much value. Most of it is going to house fuel at $39 a ton. So there is some studwood. There are a few logs. So Mark is going to sell those for us, and he will discount that off the bill. He submitted a bill a week ago for $128,000. It was a little over half done. And we're hoping that there will be at least $40,000 or $45,000 worth of revenue. So we're still left. It's going to approach $200,000 before we get this jitney trail clear. How much revenue? That's completely unknown at this point.
Wonderful that you get Danny, right? Because you like situations that you wouldn't get any that ones. Just to hire you to keep the mess up. So anyway, it's working out good.
Okay, Jessica, I'll just say one more thing about that. A couple of landowners approached us when the machine was in the area. Told us we could go in on their property, cut the blowdowns. Like one landowner in particular had 100 acres, he had 3 acres beside the rail line, it was completely flat. He said, you can go in and have that. That'll help you reduce your cost. 2 landowners have done that, so people care about the trail more than because he said it's not worth them bringing in a processor for 3 acres, but it was going by. So that we're going to get a few truckloads of good material out of there, and that'll reduce the cost. So this has been a real wake-up call for a lot of us. Myself, I've been involved in this business for a long time, building trails, maintaining trails, and we've got over 2,000 volunteer hours I've bought so far with housing on Snowmobile Club, and that's worth a lot of money. And you can't hire these guys because they are mostly out there, actually almost exclusively out there on their own time, their own dime. I've offered them fuel, I've offered them oil, I've offered them excavators. Most of the time they look at me and say, no, we'll get her. We just need another week or two. And they're a top bunch of guys, I'll tell you. And gals.
The land that fits is all privately owned. Quite a few landowners are going to purchase their wood themselves. So we're kind of just, the trails, we have some trails open, and most for the landowners, so that we could really clear the down trees. But a big portion of what's up there probably won't be open for a while, because you have to give the landowners time to harvest the wood and access to the trails.
Yeah, I look back at what Janice is saying there. In the first week, I had 7 landowners call me and say, don't go in there, don't go on my land. They didn't want a bunch of what they thought was rookies going in and chainsawing logs into 3-foot lengths. That's firewood at best. So we respect that. We really do. We work well with landowners. Those 6 landowners, 2 of them have called me so far and said, I'm done. You guys are going to clean up the trail the way you want it. But I've got the material that I want to do. This is a working relationship that we cherish.
Okay, Councilor Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you people for pointing out that we need to work cooperatively on these issues. And that's the first comment I want to make, that it's nice to see different groups working together. And it's really nice to see Fran at the game and Bill well. I also want to give kudos to you for mentioning the mental health aspect of trails. Brothers right, this is our wellness center. I've known entire career that when I stay half sane as a teacher, I had to get out of the woods and walk and see and just recover. I have visited the Bothy several times, and I call it some small brook. It's a unique piece of architecture, a nice place to walk there several times with some of my children. I think you people need to understand, I think we are beginning to understand that the damage is done for trails or shorefronts, even just the cleanup of our yards is enormous. And it's expensive. I'm hoping, we don't know yet. We're hoping that there will be some of the federal monies that have been allotted for clean up, some of it will filter through. So for some of these projects, these projects, many of them are beyond the capacity of this, but simply put, we're not going to know our tax rate. But you do want, personally speaking, I would sort of like to see this cleaned up and back in, as functioning trails again. Trails have become a very important part of our recreational infrastructure, whether it's snowmobiles, whether it's four-wheeling, whether it's hiking, whether it's snowshoeing, mountain biking, you know, they're just very, very important. So what we're gonna need a little bit of time. Can't suddenly grant you $200,000 tonight. But I'm sure that, and the way our grant system works, basically you have to work spring, summer, fall, and you have to be reported by the end of January. If you grant money tonight, you'd have to be in a hurry to get your report in by the end of January. So I'm just letting you know that you understand. And you need to probably prepare with a number on it for get a request in within the month of February. I believe is our period in which our applications are open. That's several months after that before we make decisions. But I want you to be aware that, like all levels of government, our abilities are not unlimited. Costs here are enormous. Whether you're repairing that bridge for River John, whether you're doing the Chicken Trail, there are many other trails. And I can testify that there's acres and acres and acres of woodland on my wood lots. It's just flat, just gone. I was actually talking to Mr. Bannerman, and by the way, you have the best operator in the province. And next gen, I was speaking to them prior to the hurricane. I was in a couple pieces of hardwood. So with that back burner, so I sort of, finding a contractor, finding a reliable contractor is a challenge. And say, I believe you have the best, the Bannermans and the arts full circles of that business as well. Anyway, keep up the good work. Ready to get an application in the early winter. Or a significant ask, and you'll have to advance that ask. So I guess it's what I would call it. Yeah. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Councilor Parker. Councilor Palmer.
Madam Chair, thank you again for coming. Just trying to get my head around, Pictou County Trails Association, is that just the west or is it includes east? Includes east.
It's the whole county.
Yes. Part of this $200,000 for cleanup, is that just the west or is it part of the east too?
That would be the Jitney Trail, which is in the west. We're also looking to do the same thing in the east side, which is the Sunnybray to the county line down below Garden Beacon. There's a significant damage down there, so we're trying to arrange cleanup in that area as well.
I was at a camp here a couple weeks ago and they were out after the storm. Guys I know down there went out to clean the trail out. They had a contractor in for a couple of days, and they only got a kilometer down. So it was
That's not necessarily.
damage, right? So I just didn't see that in the presentation. So I wasn't sure if it was included or not.
Well, to be fair, we just got the letter of authority 3 or 4 weeks ago from DNR. We've been trying to get one since 5 years for that area, and we just acquired one miraculously just a few days after the hurricane. When they inspected what we were doing over on this side, DNR all of a sudden said, well, let's not fool around. Here's an LOA, can you help the east side? So sometimes there's a silver lining to getting ahead in this world. I would say they want to help us get that LOA in a terrible way, but it's now under a management plan.
Is there any current government funding out there for this, or you know, is there something that you can?
We're led to believe a lot of things. We're being encouraged to carry on and incurring this debt with no way of knowing how we're going to pay for it. But it's passion that's making us do it. We want our trails back. And some of the clubs are even going in debt to hire excavators to help clear the trails. And there's no guarantee that they're going to be funded. To be fair though, there was one group that stepped up just a week after the hurricane. That was the group, Stoneville Association of Nova Scotia. They put up a $5,000 grant for the northern part of Nova Scotia, which was hit the hardest. Clubs over in Collingwood and down the valley, they are being damaged compared to what we have. So they directed about $55,000 towards this area. A couple of our clubs and a couple of the associations were able to get $5,000 grants. That's gone a long way. That's a moral boost to these volunteers that they can hire an excavator when the trees are 8 feet in the air hanging over your head. You just can't work safely in those environments. We had
There's quite a bit of damage. I've seen damage up there, so.
I'm sure you're all aware.
Nova Scotia Trails also, Rick Jakes was talking about funding that, but it's very, they're not giving figures. They're saying, we have a pot of money that might be able to be used. So anyway, it's uncertain.
So my question is, so let's say you accumulate $200,000 debt. How are you going to pay the contractor if that's?
So, what I'm hearing from Nova Scotia Trails and from the province, is that the province and the provincial, organizations are working together to, determine how they're going to direct some disaster relief funding. So, that's what we know thus far, but we are being encouraged that the province will help the trail organizations to pay for trail clearing. And we also know that Pictou County across the province is one of the hardest hit areas.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Palmer. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question for this committee and representatives tonight, and thank you for coming, is in regards to liability insurance. Does it cover individuals who are not members of your organization if they're working on the private line to clear the trails?
With the Nova Scotia Trails Federation, liability insurance would cover like maintenance events, or it would cover trail cleanup events. But if a company is engaged, then that company has to carry its own liability insurance. But in terms of volunteer work events, all of the groups that are members of Venice Trails or of the Snowmobile Association or the provincial organizations, they do subscribe and pay into a general liability fund or policy.
And we pay for that.
Yeah, the Pictou County Trails Association pays per kilometer. So they submit annually. And if, for example, if the mountain bikers build an extra section of trail, they submit that in addition to the kilometers that are insured too.
My understanding of the insurance, if we have 10 people working on the trail, I just have to keep track of the names of the people. And if they are injured or if something happens, they will be covered. They don't, as far as I know, they don't have to be pay a due or be a member of any. This has to be part of the trail.
The trail crew has to be.
I just have to take their names and keep track of who was there.
So, but, Don, I know that you've got trails in Lismore.
Yes.
But your trail group is not part of Pictou County Trails Association. So you're not covered under the liability of the province because of that. But you could become a member. And so that would be.
Thank you.
I don't think the insurance covers events. If you were to have a mountain bike race or something, it wouldn't cover that. But it covers the maintenance and the general, if you're a trail and we follow.
Oh, and it covers,
Yeah, that's covered.
it also covers if a user has an issue, like if you're out hiking on the trail, on one of these trails, and something happens to you or your property, you're covered that way. The trail group is protected in your.
Okay. And we'll finish off with Councillor Dumark.
Thank you. Yes, Councillor Parker, after That's true. Said some of the stuff that I was gonna say. I was gonna say how lucky you were to have Vanderman's outfit there, and thank you for coming in. And I don't think there'd be any problem to give all your paperwork done in time that should be well looked after for this council when the time comes. Thank you.
So we have your vote, you mean?
I wish I had some of the trailer going through my land and I'd be having them work for me.
Well, thank you so much for coming this evening. It has been a wonderful presentation and we learned lots and it's had an insight into what Victor County Trails is and what you're doing now and where you hope to be in the future. So we really appreciate you coming in this evening and taking the time and preparing that for us this evening. So.
Thank you very much. On behalf of all the groups and I and affiliated groups that are in the Victor County Trails Association, we really I think the opportunity is timely. Got lots of issues, but great encouragement from you people, so thank you very much.
Thank you for coming and thank you for all your hard work in our county. We appreciate it.
I just also wanted to say thank you for investing in my time as goes towards supporting the.
Yeah. Thank you. She's our godsend.
So thank you for that as well.
Speak travels. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move right along. We'll start with our reports this evening. First report is our recreation report. By Councillor Wadden. Seconded by Councillor Elliott. Any questions or comments on this month's recreation? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded nay. Motion carried. Our next report is our communications report for the month of October. Your pleasures, Councillor. Moved by Councillor Palmer. Seconded by Warden Parker. Any questions or comments on the communications report? Go ahead, Warden Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to say how important it was on the second paragraph, near the bottom third, says that if there are two things I have learned, people want a consistent message, even if it is information they don't want to hear. And they want the ability to talk to someone in person. I think those are two very important lessons that, and I'm glad they're in here, because a lot of times during an emergency, or even not during an emergency, things apply, people want to be treated up and up. Tell me what it is, tell me, don't give me false dates, don't give me false encouragement and stuff. Just tell me the way it is, but please have somebody talk to me, a real person. There's nothing more frustrating than getting these recorded messages and stuff, especially in times of emergency. People are alone in their homes many times and they just don't know which way to turn. And if all they get is a recording on the phone when they phone somebody, it's pretty disheartening, I guess is what I would say, and doesn't leave that person feeling any better than before but they can talk to a real person. It can help a lot of people get through this mentally, and so I think those lines in there are really important. I thank Sue Ann for the job she did during this terrible time with her Fiona, and trying to help calm people down, and trying to get them the best answer. But I think that's really important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Warden Parker. Seeing no other questions or comments, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary minded nay. Motion carried. Next, we'll move on to the emergency services report for the month of October. Moved by Councillor Palmer, seconded by Councillor Elliott. Anything you'd like to add? Okay. Any questions or comments for Evan? Councillor David Parker.
Slightly off topic, but I'm not gonna miss my chance. I'm just very, very impressed with the debris cleanup report. Get every day. Feel like I'm losing. Keep up to the work.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Watson.
I can just echo Councilor Barber's comments. It's made a huge amount of difference when I was talking to residents and I can tell them where we're at. So I really appreciate what you've done and thank you so much.
Okay, moving along, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have the warden's report. Pleasures, councilors. Okay, moved by Councilor Wading. Seconded by Councilor Butler. Any questions or comments in the warden's report? Oh, you have a question. Okay, go ahead, Councilor Palmer.
Okay, number 2, tenant information session led by Michelin Leadership. Just wondering what that was about.
Just an update session for the mayors and myself, from the, let's say, the leadership team, and I didn't know all the names right off, but the top 2 or 3 anyway that are, there, that's one I think it wasn't for a big announcement, whether good or bad. It was just an update on how things are going. I think the big challenge, and that's the message I got from it, is same as every other company, big or small, is having, is keeping employees, tracking employees and keeping employees. I think they're making a very determined effort to get that message out. That's their biggest hurt right now. We said before that we wanted to know if there was any problems that we might be able to help with ahead of time. And I think even this plan is not necessarily a problem. I think the problem is more the plan in the valley. And they're just having tremendous problems. So they're trying to make sure that they don't end up with the same problem here. I think that was the message they were trying to deliver to us that day, but they went through a lot of different costing and stuff, and what the challenges were, you know. But I think it was good that they were being open and upfront with it.
Go ahead.
Rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Okay, let's go in order. Number 3, and a special, are they looking at having another penny sterling event?
That's
And that's all, are they looking at making a profit this time, or are we going to take a loss?
that's exactly the question I asked. I said I wasn't willing to vote for it, you know, unless we could show that we were going to have a loss. And I guess voted, of course, but you know, so it is going to go ahead, and you know, I insisted that our council, you know, wants to see better numbers coming back from the well center, and so you know, they're thinking they're going to do better. I'm not sure where that comes from. There are ways to argue for that type of event, but as a money-making event, it's not going to happen. So can they make it break even? I think it's the question, and the management there seems to think they can, but you know, I don't. We can't have bigger losses coming back here every year, and you know, I know where some of the problem came before, and they're attempting to fix it, but I don't know if they can or not.
Is that before the new year, or is it that?
No, it'll be into the new year or week. I'm not sure of the dates now, but it's probably more in March, April.
One other question. Number 4, attended an update session on future of the fall.
That's sort of the same, well, it's different than Michelin, of course, they're up and running, but Northern Pub, I think, is just basically trying to stay in contact, you know, with the mayors and myself to say, this is where we're at. They're a long ways down the road. They have a plan for, you know, a new cleaner mill and whatnot, but it's probably, what I heard is more like 2027 at the earliest, that they, if everything worked out for them. They know their biggest challenge is to rebuild trust with the people in the county, and they know that's not going to be easy. Even on the group of mayors and wardens, not everybody comes. Because some people are in disagreement, even to listening. I've always had the attitude that you listen anyway and see what's out there before you before you turn something down, but, no, it's just a matter of keeping informed again of what, but that's what they're working on, of course, is to have a new cleaner mill and which, you know, it's good news to have industry, but I think the county has stated very clearly that we don't want, the environmental effects that were there before, yes, you know, and so they have to do better, and I think they know that.
No, thank you.
Go ahead.
If there's no more questions, I just have a comment I want to make.
Sure, right ahead.
And it's, related to the storm, to Fiona. And I think it's, important that we, as a council, that we thank the people at the Wellness Center for the job that was done there. You know, they put a tremendous amount of hours in, work, a very small staff, to make sure that those, power companies from all over Canada and the US, were not only a place to sleep, but that were fed and whatnot. So there was a tremendous amount of work went in from a very small group. And also this morning, I found out at the shared services meeting that, Earl Cameron, of course, who runs that over there, said that their staff, you know, performed really well for 4 days when they had no power except for generators, to keep it going. So that, he said, we were one of the few things that kept running during that time, because it was important for certain people and businesses. But, and Eric, the sewer treatment plant in Trenton was similar. They have no backup power. And so that luckily everything worked out all right, the power came back on. A lot of those big machines started back up. They're afraid they make these things up. Again, it was the employees who put in long hours to make sure that both of those facilities were still available when people needed them. So we owe a real thank you, I think, to the staff at all three of those places in our county that worked extra to try and keep us from having much bigger losses. So it could have, in the case of the Wellness Center, to serve the people that needed it at that time in order to serve the residents. It's important to make those comments.
Okay, thank you, Warden Parker. Great, seeing no other comments or questions, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded nay. Motion carried. Next, we have the Carl report from Councillor One.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Financially, we are 60% through the year and 59% of our budget spent, so we're right on target there. Work is continuing towards better salaries and income security for staff. New hires and retention is a huge concern. Coral and the province are aware salaries are a top priority for the board. And salaries, attracting people and retaining staff are major concerns, just like it is with every organization in the county. Accessibility audit should be prepared by mid-January. 50 project and the Glasgow renovations are continuing with the Glasgow's funding announcement held this past Saturday. Virtual health continues to work well. At the 70% practice pilot project, and over 200 people were assisted using virtual care in Victor County, and they are now using the system. Over $100,000 has been realized as savings with this project. It takes pressure off the walk-in clinics and our emergency departments. COVID sick policy will continue until our fiscal year ends, which is May 31st, 2023. A new video reader program has been launched at the Trenton Library, and it's a program where writers get honest feedback on the manuscripts, and it is a unique program and the first of its kind in Nova Scotia. On a Christmas note, the drop into a library from December 16th to the 25th, and you can pick up a free children's book from the Adopted Library Literacy Program. And this holiday season, a gift a library book, summer special, and you'll receive a tax receipt for your recognition.
Okay. Lots of great news there. Are there any questions or comments for Councillor One concerning the Carl report? Seeing none, we'll move on to accounts paid for the month of October 2022. We have a motion? Okay, moved by Councillor One. Seconded by Councillor Elliott. Any questions or comments on the accounts paid for the month of October 2022? Go ahead, Councillor One.
Just the one on the Valley, how long will we continue paying them? You know, we had said we'd gotten rid of them, but we had like 90 days. I think we're well beyond that now. So we're just wondering how far into the year we'll continue with this charge.
Brian, I have the lines. Are you able to answer that, Brian?
Sure. So we've extended their contract a little bit here. They're doing a bit of work on commercialization for us, and that involves large industries. So we've extended them a little bit as well. Part of the federal grant that we had with ISED had a little bit of social innovation requirements. So they're the people that can do that for us. The digital ubiquity team were not able to really quantify that part of the thing. So we've extended them for a couple of months to get that social innovation piece done.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? The accounts paid month of October. Okay. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have the deed transfer tax fund. As you can see, for the month of October, you're up a little bit again, which is good news. Always great to see. Any comments or questions? Okay, Councilor Parker.
Very good news. And I calculation we're running well ahead of the model. My question is, things have been for a while now. What's going to happen to that surplus that went? As Brian, we can address that.
Yeah, sure. Brian, are you able to address that?
So the surplus that we're basically accumulating at this point is just an offset to the debt that's already been incurred. So we do have the wellness center debt and the hospital renovations. So the surplus basically at this point just goes against that debt. Hopefully at some point when those debentures come due, we'll be able to pay them off or make balloon payments on them to basically speed up the debt requirements or the retirement, sorry. So it's just the surplus is just cutting years off repayment at this point.
Go ahead, Councilor Parker, you have a follow-up?
Please. So those surplus monies, where are they? They're just sitting in an account somewhere, they're drawing interest?
Yeah, so they're basically just sitting in an account drawing interest. That's exactly what they're doing.
Small amount of interest on debts. Yeah, anyway, thank you.
Okay, any more comments or questions on the deed transfer tax fund? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the taxes receivable report. Again, this is for information purposes only. You'll see that we still have an amount of $5,018,775.12 still owing. Is that pretty typical for this time of year?
That's a bit.
Yeah, so we're, I guess, right where we should be.
You just sent out another arrears billing. And then we'll do one again in February.
Okay. Any other comments or questions for tax receivable report? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 6, financial assistance requests. So we have 2 municipal service grants requests this evening. The first is for District 12, and that is for the Hopewell Footbridge, Cayley and Candy Cane Committee, and it's Hopewell 4-H in default, and it's for $1,000. And the amount tonight for committee approval is just that $1,000 for them.
I move it.
Okay, it's been moved by Councilor Dewar, seconded by Councilor Elliott. Any comment or question on that? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Next, we have 4 requests, I believe, here for District 11.
No, just one. Oh, you don't have color?
No.
Sorry. So the one dated the 11th on the bottom. The last one at the bottom?
For $400?
Yes.
Is that for the Moose River Cemetery?
Greensboro.
Oh, Greensboro Cemetery.
One at the bottom.
Okay, perfect. So that's for the operating costs and cemetery maintenance. So the amount of $400 for committee approval this evening.
I'll move that.
Okay, Councillor Thompson, you move that. We have a seconder. Councillor Dewar seconds that. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Okay, so that takes care of our municipal service grant request for this evening. Number 7, we'll move along to the nomination climate change advisory committee. As you saw in your package, we received an email from Pierre Riddell. He's a youth member, a grade 10 student at Northumberland, requesting to join the committee. What is your pleasure? Go ahead, Warden Parker.
I'll move that he join the climate change committee. I want to speak to it too, but I'll move.
That's great. Okay, so we have a mover. Councillor Elliott will second that. Go ahead, Warden Parker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ever since the climate change advisory committee was formed, we've been trying to get more youth members. And it's a difficult challenge because you come in here and sit around this room here with a bunch of old folks. And it's pretty hard to attract, we've been very fortunate for a year now, that they have to say, by the name of a fellow from Salt Springs has been with our group, but we weren't able to expand beyond the one. So this letter came forward and so he attended our last meeting and very bright young man, moved to this area 3 or 4 years ago, but very determined to make a mark. And so we were more than glad to welcome him on board and put his name forward for tonight. Our hope that the climate change advisory committee, and if Peter was here, he would speak to it, that, you know, we're going to look at maybe having a group part of our committee go to the schools, both Northumberland and North Nova, and see if we can't drum up more interest. What we'd like to have is about half of this horseshoe of older people, half of the horseshoe of younger people, and actually let them create an agenda for some of the meetings so that we're addressing the issues. They're the people that are going to have to live with the results of this climate change fiasco that we're in, you know, and so they should be the ones that are helping set those agendas. So I just want to say how pleased we are that this young man came forward, and hopefully it's just the beginning. And if anybody knows of anybody who might be inclined to want to help out on that committee, you know, certainly encourage them because we've got a ways to go before we get to half and half here. I wanted to express that tonight. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any other questions or comments on the nomination of Pierre Riddell? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Excuse me. Next, we have our employee Christmas bonus. This is something we address every year for employees of our municipal staff. Last year, we in 2021 gave the bonus of $150. So, what is your pleasure tonight, councillors? Okay, good move by Warden Parker. What would you like to move? $150 again this year? Seconded?
I move that we get $2 a heating oil.
Okay, can I have a second? Okay, been seconded by Councillor Parker. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Is there any emergency resolutions this evening? And seeing none, we'll move into our in-camera session. Yeah, can I have a motion to go in camera, please? Moved by Councillor Parker, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Contrary-minded, nay. Motion carried. Just hold on a second here. Okay, everyone, I guess we're ready to move forward. Brian, I'll turn this over to you.